Hi, Vista. Today I have Heather Riggs with us, and she is going to share a little bit about a tool that she's been using with her students this year called EdPuzzle. Heather, thanks so much for being here. What drew you to EdPuzzle? Why was that something you wanted to use with your students? And maybe what was it that you were hoping to achieve?
Yeah. EdPuzzle is something I've actually used for years now. It was not something that I started in our remote learning, but I knew immediately as we had to transition to remote in the spring that this was going to be my primary thing. In the past, I've used it as really a supplement to what I've done in class, especially with the honors and AP. It was a way of being able to get through content faster for those advanced classes that they're always, scrambling for, trying to get through everything. So I could give a short video lecture. It would be the same kind of lecture that I would do in class. I use my own PowerPoint slides, and it's recording me talking through my own slides. And then that way kids could have that as their own resource, and they could pause me and rewind me as much as they need to. And then you can embed, what I love about it, it's not just, hey, here's a video, but you can embed questions within it. And EdPuzzle basically makes them watch the video, but it pauses at certain points where you've programmed in a question, and it makes them answer the question before they're allowed to continue.
Cool.
So you can tell what they've watched, when they've watched, and then you can kind of track progress of, are they understanding what they're watching?
Cool. So it sounds like not only is it kind of a cool, interactive, maybe more engaging way for kids to get some of that direct instruction, or maybe a lecture, some information that you want to share with them. But it also sounds like for you, you're using it as a formative in some ways to get some quick data to figure out how well are kids tracking? Are they understanding?
Totally. You can, it depends on what questions you plug in, really. And then what do you do with that information at the end? So you can absolutely have it be a summative type assignment. I've heard of like foreign language teachers using it as a summative assignment because you can speak. You're recording yourself speaking, and then a student would have to translate it or whatever.
Totally.
So this is just my homepage in EdPuzzle. The My Content, these are the ones that I have created and used.
Okay.
Now I've got a whole bunch of them in there now. To add content, you would click right here, and then you can create a video from scratch. I've never done that within EdPuzzle, so I'm not entirely sure how useful that is. I find it much easier to create something from my own presentation slides. So I'll use like Screencastify, or really any of the screen recording softwares will work. Just recording me going through my own PowerPoints, and then you can just upload the video once it's created. I've never created one within EdPuzzle. Another nice thing you can do is you can pull videos from YouTube or Khan Academy or TED Talks or all other things here on the side. If you don't want to create your own video from scratch, you can absolutely pull a clip from any of these channels directly and then just program in your questions. So for example, this is the one I just did earlier this week for my AP class. From their end, it more looks like this. So they hit play. Welcome to EdPuzzle number 16. Then when you get to a point where a question is programmed in, it stops the video and it pops up the question. And I have a skip because I'm the one that owns this, but normally that skip thing is not there. They have to actually answer the question and hit submit, and then it'll tell them right away if they got it right or not.
So immediate feedback for kids.
Immediate feedback, which is really good as a formative tool. And then you can continue. You can always rewatch a section. If you get to a question and you don't know the answer, you can rewatch that segment. And then once you hit continue, then the video continues playing until you hit the next question.
Sweet. So can you show us a little bit of how the integration, like how you would create an assignment in Canvas that then takes a kid to EdPuzzle?
Yes. Then to create this as an actual assignment, I would put whatever my instructions are here, decide how many points you want it to be. Then here's the one thing I have noticed. To actually pull in the EdPuzzle, it is an external tool. If you have a class that is a blueprint class, and so you're going to create it once in your perpetual and then make copies to other places. I have found that EdPuzzle gets really glitchy doing that.
Okay.
So things I have learned is to keep it as no submission for your template.
Okay.
And then once you're in your actual individual classes, then you got to go to do this for each class. That's when you then want to pull the external tool. Something about the integration doesn't translate well in the blueprint, and I don't know why, but it was super annoying. So keep it as no submission for now.
Those are tips that are super helpful, right? Stuff you learn along the way. And so you're kind of saying maybe create the shell for the assignment in your perpetual, sync it across, then go into your live, and now you're going to show us what that step would be. Correct?
Yeah, in your shell, you can do the points, you can do the, sync it to Infinite Campus, the due date, do all that, but leave it as no submission in your shell.
Okay.
Now we'll pretend I blueprinted it. Ta-da! There's my new class. So if this was the actual class, then I would go to the external tool. You have to have already added EdPuzzle as an app in Canvas. And since, and I don't know if I can show that since I already have the app in there.
No, but what I will do is first of all, I'm happy to show anybody who needs help adding EdPuzzle as an app, but also I will link instructions below this video where it says resources to walk you through those steps. So,
okay. Cool. Assuming you already have the app, the EdPuzzle app added to your Canvas, then it's going to show up as one of the options here when you're looking. So you hit find, scroll down to EdPuzzle.
There it is.
And then it should pop up straight to your content. And then you can pull which one you want. So you click on watch if this is the one you want to assign. When you click on watch, it pops up bigger. And then the blue assign button, that's what you want. And then let's say, hey, do you want to assign it to this class? That should be the course you're in.
Okay.
And then hit assign.
I saw there's a little button in the bottom that said prevent skipping. You can toggle it off. Tell me about that. Yeah.
That's a nice feature. I always keep prevent skipping because it means that the kids can't skip over a question. You have to answer it before you move forward. You can't hit the little skip.
Totally.
So then once you've hit assign, then it brings you back to here. Make sure that's still highlighted and then click select. And now a URL has populated in here. So that now means it's integrated and it's going to work. So if I hit save, then you'll see what it actually looks like now when the students get in there.
Cool.
And whatever instructions will be at the very top. And then this is what it shows. On the teacher end, you'll see all your students populate down here. The kids won't.
Yeah.
It's like the test because this is my sandbox class.
Right.
In the actual real class with real students in it, they'll start populating down here.
Wow. So you can see the percentage of how many kids have actually done it. And
from a quick glance, yeah, even if they're part of the way, the grade won't hit Canvas until they've completed it.
Okay.
But if you can scroll here and see, have they even bothered to start, which is also nice.
Sweet.
Well, and then from there is when they are able to watch it. One other little trick of it that we have noticed is that if you don't have your very last question, right at the end of the video, a lot of times kids will think if I answer the last question, I'm done.
Okay.
EdPuzzle will not send the grade to Canvas until they've watched the whole video.
Okay.
So usually I try to make my last question in the last second of the video, so then it kind of doesn't matter.
Okay.
But if that's not applicable, or if you don't want to have it that way, just make sure you tell them the video has to run to the end. And if you have I watched it and why is my grade not there, that's almost always the reason.
Any other tips or tricks, lessons learned for folks?
I mean, I've gotten really good feedback from it. I feel especially with, asynchronous days, it gave the ability to not have asynchronous days be just non-content days. I can introduce new things on an asynchronous day, even while I'm running a lab with my in-person kids. So I really, really felt this to be a super useful, hybrid learning tool, a great remote learning tool. It allows kids to be able to do their, direct instruction at different times if necessary. If the first way you introduce a new thing is on a Google Meet and that kid wasn't there that day, then it's harder for them to catch up. But if it's, hey, do this EdPuzzle today, then they can do it at any time, whenever. And especially for, going back to hybrid at some point in time, I love using EdPuzzles as their asynchronous days, because you can make it, not a long video, but it's still introducing something new. It's giving them immediate feedback about, are they learning this brand new thing? And then when we come in to the classroom together live, then you can kind of sort out anything that didn't quite work, or you can just run straight to applying the new thing. In a science setting, it's, I'm going to save my lecture things for EdPuzzle, so that way we can get our hands on some stuff when we're actually, in the building. This becomes my best direct instruction tool, I think.
I dig that. And what I also love about it is on an asynchronous day where you might be running a lab with the, let's say, A cohort on a Monday and B cohorts at home watching an EdPuzzle, by using this tool, there's another level of scaffolding and support for kids in that it's going to pause the video before they can move on and check for understanding. Did you get that? And if they didn't, they can rewatch it.
Correct.
So instead of just saying, watch this video and take notes, it provides an extra level of support. And then they get immediate feedback. So if they're off base, they know that. And then you get data, so you can check that before the next class and go, ooh, a lot of people missed this question. Maybe that's something we want to talk about in person before we get our hands on science stuff.
Exactly. Because I think that really will help the sort of air traffic control that it sounds like is coming down the pike of, if we're dealing with in-person kids and remote kids at the same time.
Yeah.
There's only so many ways that we can divide our attention and actually be effective to both. But if remote kids have a thing to do that is still direct instruction from me, I can focus on my in-person kids and not be constantly looking at, okay, but what are the remote kids doing at the same time? Like I can only be in one place at one time and be effective at doing it. Yeah. So this, I think, divides that much better, where I'm not constantly running to my computer, ignoring my in-person kids to be like, hey, what are you doing right now?
It's a clever way to sort of, you're not cloning yourself, but you are sort of able to be in two places at once using this tool. And that's really cool. Yeah.
And as nice as it is to do pull a video that's already made from YouTube, and I do that occasionally, I think the students really appreciate when it's you.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely more work on the front end, but students feel like you are still teaching, even though we all know that when you provide a resource from someone else that you have picked for them, you're still teaching. But there is that perception of, if you're not the one speaking, then you didn't teach it to me. And even though I would absolutely argue with that, I do feel like it gives them that sense of, I'm still teaching you. Yeah. It's just recorded.
And there's a personal connection then with you. even if it's through a screen, they're getting to hear your voice, maybe see your face even as you walk through that content. Heather, thank you so much for sharing. Really appreciate just the wisdom and expertise and the strategies that you shared today.